Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Join Dave Sirus and Maryssa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, this is Blamestorming. I'm Maryssa Smith. We are back with Dave Sirus.
Yes, I'm Dave Sirus.
Joey Gay.
Hooray.
And we are joined with Rob Ryan.
I just came here.
Yes, Rob, thanks for coming in. So let's just jump right in. Rob, name 3 celebrities you think are actually innocent of their sex charges.
Ooh. Oh, no. Is this the show?
This is the show. We're trying to create a buzz. Trying to create controversy. Yeah.
You invite a comic and then you just
ruin their
put him in the
careers.
hot seat.
Yes.
We undo them.
I think
You don't have to answer the question.
Yeah.
Don't
You
answer.
don't have
No,
to.
I will. I think the charges laid against you, Dave, are
Thank you.
completely unfounded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And technically there are more than 3.
Well
so
played.
You did.
Well played.
Yes.
So, Trump recently said that he thought that teachers should be armed in schools. Does anyone think this is a good idea?
No. I don't even like teachers being teachers in schools. You got to give them guns now. Do you ever hang out with a teacher, like have a friend who becomes a teacher? They start off like the beginning of some Hollywood movie. They're going to make a connection. 3 years later, they're like, I hope they all kill themselves, these little bastards. They've lost the will to live. They're drinking in the afternoon. These are the people we're arming? It's like you've made people cops and then retroactively given them guns.
The cops didn't go into the school.
No,
yeah,
they
the
didn't.
sheriff's deputy
but-
stood outside like a bitch.
I'll tell you this. You
But
ever
the
been in a
history teacher's
situation
supposed
where
to.
you're holding a gun and you're scared? I have.
No.
It's not,
Dude,
well, let me tell you. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's hard not to have empathy for people who don't want to run at the other guy with the gun, especially if you've been in a situation where you're holding a gun and the other person may be.
Exactly. That's why I don't expect teachers
Yeah,
to.
and now imagine you're an English teacher.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
You've
Or
never dealt with this
even
situation.
worse, imagine you're a cop and you find this out, in the middle of a 8-hour day where somebody's killing children.
Or a cop comes to the school, there's a school shooter, and there's 5 teachers with guns also shooting.
Correct. There's no.
That's
But
gonna
then
get
again,
nuts.
this is just yet another in a long line of red herrings from a lunatic, cartoon villain
Trump. Yeah.
who is living in the White House at the moment.
Right. I mean, he's just saying this off the top of his head. He's now saying we're going to go to war with the NRA because he says whatever he thinks makes him look strong in the moment with no intention of doing anything about it. Because he is, like I said, where some people are playing chess, he's playing whack-a-mole. He's just in the moment. He's like a dog just living in the second and just trying to not look bad every moment. So he doesn't care because he doesn't think that anyone else is going to remember anything he says tomorrow because he doesn't.
He said he was going to go into the school himself. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah, we
talked about
totally
that.
Talked about
yeah.
that earlier about how the man with 5 draft dodging deferments wants us to believe that he would unarmed charge into that. I have
But what
never
happened to his
seen
bone spurs? Like, how would he run in there?
Donald Trump is someone who, if he was in a burning building, would knock an old lady down if he had a half hour to get out of the building. He is the most cartoonishly cowardly human being. A man who has never taken it upon himself to help other people in his life. Wants us to believe that he is this white hat roaming the streets trying to save people. I mean,
But it's a much better story than I'm the average scumbag. I would have hidden. This is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds so much better to go,
Trump would have yelled to the shooter, "They're in there."
Start with the kindergarten.
Hey, there's that controversy we were hoping for. Hooray!
And I think that I understand why you want teachers to have guns because you think it evens things out. I think we should have a compromise.
You're nuts.
Let teachers have swords and whips.
I went to Catholic school where I was beaten by teachers as a kid. I do not want these people armed. If there was a time where they were allowed to hurt children, right? Now take that same temperament and I admittedly drove people crazy. As a child, I would take delight out of taking a perfectly reasonable person in a position of authority and then slowly making them insane.
Yeah,
That's the normal thing that happens with the cut-up kid at school. Now that person that my nature makes me harass is armed.
Well, I think Trump would even say to that, goes, well, maybe they'll have a little bit more respect for their teachers when they're holding a gun. That's how he thinks.
Yeah.
That is I guarantee you that's the argument that he's going to think that we give more respect. I mean, here's the problem.
Yes, I know, because mine makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
And his does not.
Right. If you give teachers guns, you just solve the problem for the school shooter. How do I get a gun?
Right.
Right.
Because once you have the element of surprise and they have a gun, they're not holding that gun like it's Vietnam with their finger on the trigger. They're walking around doing their normal job. Anyone could walk up behind this guy and hit him in the head and take his gun.
Teachers do not have their shit together. I must say that again.
No,
they
teachers,
do not.
We can't stop them from having sex with the kids.
Correct.
Right.
Still. So who's to say they're not going to fool around in the closet when, and hey, check out my gun.
Right.
I do think this would increase teen pregnancy, yes. I think having the teachers hold guns is just going to make them much more likely to have the balls to fuck a kid.
Exactly.
Not to put too fine a point on it. But yeah, I mean, Trump wants teachers to have guns because that is the only argument you could have that doesn't involve gun control. That's all it is.
Right.
This is all retroactive arguments starting from the point of, okay, we need things to be safer and we need to not upset the NRA, not let them sick their goons on us. I want all that sweet NRA money.
Well, didn't he accept almost $30 million from the NRA for his campaign?
Of course.
Yes.
So, I mean, he can't really step on their dick too much. He's going to say enough to kind of have people quiet about it, but he's not really going to.
I think it's emotional. With the NRA, the way people worship it, I think that there are a lot of angry people who they think of the NRA as like this protector between them and the unwashed hordes that are trying to kill them. And I think that if you made a compromise and just let them add a G between the N and the R, they'd be happy enough to give us some of the things back, just so they could say it.
Oh, my goodness.
Marissa's black, everyone. I want to make sure everyone listening knows that I can say literally anything because we got a black woman.
I'm not sure this is licensed.
I never agreed with Howard, but I'm suddenly seeing why Howard has Robin. It really opens up my racism.
I see that, yeah.
What does the gun thing look like in a practical sense? If we actually were like, all right, this is going to happen, who gets the guns? Is there
Gym
training?
teachers. We
Gym
start with
teachers?
gym
We start-
teachers.
okay.
They're fucking idiots.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that what they're trying to do is if you had any person in the school that it used to be military, it's like a military veteran.
So it's like when the pilot goes down. Does anybody have flight experience?
Right, and let me
Yeah.
Who
ask you
can
this.
land this
Oh,
plane?
ex-veterans.
I already know the
Ex-vets.
answer.
Who else should have a gun
There's-
around a bunch of horrible children?
There's a bump in pay, isn't there?
It's a bump and pay, probably.
Yeah, so now there's an
Right.
incentive
Right. So
to
now,
have that
right,
gun.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
of course, we're also paying teachers less under the new budget. We're taking away all their ability to write off their supplies. So now they need that money. So
Right.
now these teachers really need to carry these guns.
This is
Honestly,
just so sick and perverse.
Yeah.
do you guys remember? Does everyone remember? Just make it easy. Their senior year English teacher.
yes.
Now picture them holding a gun.
Oh my God.
How do you feel?
Sister Eileen.
He was the worst.
Think about that person, whoever that was,
Mr. Howard.
and just picture them packing heat during that lesson and how that's going to go. If I think of the people that I went to school with, the number of people I would be comfortable with them having guns. Mr. Katz in 6th grade is the only one I would have trusted with a gun.
My English teacher in 12th grade was accused of being sexually inappropriate to a kid. Just to round this back again.
Yeah.
Well,
And so we're going to give him a gun.
Well,
it
don't.
goes back to the kitty touching.
And it bears saying the teachers don't want them.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So let's think about that idea for a moment. You take a person unwilling to have this tool to kill people and require them.
Yeah, because you had an affinity towards earth science. Now you have to own a gun and fire it off.
You put those fucking finger paints in that closet, Sherry.
Now, am I a bad person?
Yes.
For the fact.
Sorry.
The answer is going
Done,
to
Next
done.
topic.
yeah, the answer is going to be yes. But am I a bad person? That my attitude is, let's do it. Let's give these
I
teachers
have
I do wanna
their
see
fucking guns,
the world burn.
and I want you to see how many people get shot by teachers now who were not school shot. I want to see
The
how
room is
bad
split,
this
ladies
gets.
and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Two
yeah.
looks of horror, two people very amused.
I want
I want to break these eggs to make this omelet of showing everyone how. I mean, just like how I wanted Trump to win the election, I was like, I want you people to see how this is
one's
going to
seeing
play
it.
out. I know
No
that.
one's doing it. It's crazy.
Not yet. We're still in the promises stage of his con. I still firmly believe we're still in only Act 2 of the
Right.
movie that is the Trump administration, and Act 3 is going to just be one long trial. I honestly believe that we are building to the greatest Schadenfreude crescendo
Right.
in world history. I think that the people who trusted Trump are going to be parables for 1,000 years. I think that the amount that Trump is going to crash and burn at the end of this is going to be so brutally satisfying that I fear a wave of suicides.
Oh my god.
I honestly don't think anything is going to happen to him. I think that you're going to have his flunkies. You're going to have Manafort, Gates. They've already pleaded guilty. Gates is now going to be cooperating with Mueller. I think that those guys are going to do some time, but not crazy amounts of time. They're going to be in some sort of like white collar prison playing golf. And I think that they're just going to go and chalk it up to, this is all the fault of oligarchs and this was just basically money laundering. But I don't think that they're actually going to touch him.
You know what they said the same thing about? John Gotti. Every mafioso was once untouchable. And then people exactly like Robert Mueller, and literally Robert Mueller sometimes,
It was Robert
systematically
Mueller who got Gotti.
Really?
shut
Yes.
these people. Yeah, it was Gotti, right.
Correct.
People like Robert Mueller, and literally Robert Mueller said, there's nothing these people are going to do to me that are going to stop me from doing this. The mafia used to be untouchable, and now they are they're
to
a shadow of what they were.
Donald Trump is emulating the mafia and has been for a very
totally.
long time. I don't know if you know this, but there was a time in the 1980s when he built Trump Tower in Manhattan. His attorney was Roy Cohn. And Roy Cohn was also House counsel for like 3 out of the 5 mafia families in New York. Fat Tony Salerno and Paul Castellano were both represented by the same man. And at a time where concrete was not being used to make structures,
Shoes.
Donald Trump went and bought concrete from the 2 largest mafia families in America and then put up Trump Tower. At a time where they were not using, I will repeat, were not using these materials. So what happened in that office is Donald Trump sat down with 2 of the most powerful mobsters in America and paid them a tax, in essence, buying materials that were not being used on any other job site in New York in order to put up a skyscraper. What he did was he found the people who were breaking the law. He found the people who were fixing deals between people breaking the law, and then went ahead and planted his flag in the center of Manhattan. It's what he's been doing since he got into business. And now this extends to the White House, where he's operating like some sort of low-level and unimaginative mobster.
He is a
Right.
thug. He
Yes.
acts like a thug because that's about as
Well said,
deeply as he
Gary.
can think this. And by the way, funny story. By today's standards, he would just be Tony Salerno. Everyone's... He'd be regular-sized Tony Salerno.
He'd be proportionately
Yeah.
husky,
Yeah.
proportionately husky Salerno.
He'd be the fittest mob boss in the history of the world.
He would.
I mean, I know that happened before we started doing this show, but I mean, I one of the things that disgusted me the most about this country was we can't even call someone a liar when we can see they're lying about their height. Like, everyone acted like this. It's so petty to go after Trump when he says he's 239, 6'3". He's not 6'3".
I don't
Right.
know when we became a country that suffers fools gladly.
There's
Yeah.
so many things that politicians lie about that you can't prove. And at the end of the day, you're like, no, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But what was so unnerving was when you were lying about something that you could prove. And that was my biggest.
Right.
Politicians lie about lots of stuff. I'm like, not the shit that you
had-
can see.
Right, I had someone
That's
say-
nuts.
Right.
That
Yes.
I was told I am not a doctor, and therefore I cannot
Right,
claim that
okay.
he's not really 6'3".
But here's the thing.
Whoa.
People are willing to say anything, knowing it's not true, to shout at you louder. There has been an absolute absence of reason. We have gotten to a point in this culture where we willingly accept lies, knowing they're lies, and you're the lunatic if you point them out.
Right.
It's fucking bananas.
Alex Rodriguez is 6'3" tall.
You're really hung up on a small one here.
The whole point is that it's one where there is absolutely no question that it's true, but they're willing to say it. It's just like with the crowd size. He'll lie about more important things, but when we let him look us in the face and fucking gaslight us and say, this is not real. I am 6'3" and I weigh 239
pounds.
And
as a black woman, that offends me.
Yes. Well, you sound just as much like one as Marissa. No offense. That's why I just I just want to remind people because I need people to know that we're not an all-white show.
Why do you need people to know that?
Because I am a racist, Joey. Okay.
Okay. Well, as long as we get that out of the way, carry on.
But yeah, no. I mean, look, it's not like it's a motivationless lie. He's obese, and he doesn't want to be obese.
Who?
Trump.
So
he says he's 6'3" because that
obese.
makes him overweight and not obese. When he's not 6'3", he's 6 foot, and he's probably way more
He's
than
just used to saying whatever the fuck he wants, and people saying yes.
Right. Yes, sir.
You know,
Speaking of which,
they said Donald Trump this and Donald Trump that, and I said yeah. He's just used to having more money or stature than anybody else in the room in the circles that he traveled in, right? And he would just say whatever the fuck he wanted, and people go, yeah. It was kind of like when a hot girl in high school would say to you, do you remember that time? And you knew she was lying, but she was using you as a tool of her lie. You remember that time? And you just go, yeah. I'm sorry I spit on you, Dave. It wasn't on purpose.
It's, no, yeah, I know.
I figured I'd address it.
It's okay.
Can we arm the fucking students?
Now we're talking.
Arm the students.
That's what I want to do.
Just the attractive ones, so that the teachers
That's going to
don't
be
fuck 'em.
interesting dodgeball.
I mean, what about just the ROTC?
Or just
The
one
ROTC.
kid, like an air marshal for classes. You don't know who it is. You don't know which student it is. There's just one sleeper student in there.
Right. I mean,
that's a great idea.
Do you want the?
We'll call him the Rob Ryan.
Every school has 21 Jump Street.
That's what. Yeah. So is it a real student or is it just some 35-year-old?
Right.
Oh, that's a great sitcom. Just they can't even find ones that look age appropriate.
They just sit one in the middle.
Just
of the
get these
class.
old ass guys, and they just every single one. It's like, please don't fuck the kids. Please, pretty please.
That seems to be the problem with every idea here. Is they'll fuck the kids.
They will.
They're
They'll
gonna
fuck
fuck
the
the
kids.
kids.
It's a big enough
More
problem
guns
already.
down.
I mean, I remember 5 years ago that the NRA, instead of arming teachers, they were saying that there should be armed volunteers walking through the schools.
I don't know if you
they're not going to fuck the kids.
Wow. Oh my. I'm going to have a cookie and just let you go.
Well, with all these guns, no teacher's going to do lunch duty. That's going to be a big issue.
No, that's true. I went to an all-girls private school, and there was this girl in my class that her father was like a counselor to Columbia, and so she literally had an armed guard, and so they wouldn't let him in the classrooms, but he would sit in the lobby, and it was just like literally just sitting there all day, like just sitting in the lobby, and you're just like, oh, who's that guy? Oh, that's Maria's bodyguard. And like she'd come to school in like a limo every day, but it was just strange being in an all-girl school, like having just a guard just sitting there, but like he never did anything. Like if there was like fights, like we'd have schools that would like come and like fight us, and like he would just sit there. It was just like he never like got, hey kids, stop this, or like there'd be like weave tracks everywhere, skirts, clothes everywhere, and he'd just sit there, and it was just like, you know.
Did he fuck the children?
He didn't fuck me. I can't speak for all the children. I found his unibrow untasteful.
I see. So it's really a personal grooming matter.
Yeah.
I've learned so much here today from you guys.
You blew your chance of being a teacher?
Yeah, and the joke here was, as long as he doesn't fuck the children, you don't need to stop them from killing each other. I think that that's
the male
the resource. They keep saying he was a resource officer at Parkland.
I thought he was like a deputy.
He is,
Could be
but a
both.
resource officer is a guy who is assigned to a school.
Okay.
So if you go to a resource room and you're in trouble, if they need a law, somebody to liaison with a law enforcement, this is the drunken failure.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I was making
perfect solution
$75,000 a year doing it.
was in place.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, $75,000
In
a year.
Florida.
And he didn't even go into the school. Like, I don't know.
I want to err on the side of caution, like emasculating this poor bastard, because I can only imagine that he is spending his life in the bottom of a bottle right now.
He's a bitch, Joey.
My goodness.
Oh God.
How does taking that stance make you feel better? Because that is the only reason you could do it. You don't know the man. Like, for me, I'd rather just think this poor bastard is hurting himself enough, right?
Oh, no, I don't have much of a problem with the person as a person. I just think it's a good example of, like, see, this is what human beings act like in this situation, and this is why.
You never know how you're going to react. I've been in a lot of crazy situations.
I'm going to say right
Sometimes
now,
I
one
surprise myself.
person going in with a pistol to a guy with an AR, that's not
crazy.
not a reasonable.
No.
That's not even what the police would do.
With a crowded.
The police would come in and say, "We're waiting for backup," because that is insane to go up against a guy who's
Right.
armed like a military.
Well, it's a shame the president wasn't there,
yet
because
this-
if he had a pistol,
Right.
that is more than he had.
He said he'd go in unarmed.
At the
That's
same
correct.
time, I see
Yeah.
all these gun advocates saying that a pistol and an AR-15 are exactly as deadly as each other because they
right.
both are
Well-
semi-automatic. And so if that's the argument, then why are all these cops suddenly being given AR-15s to combat this? I mean, you see arguments all the time.
Have
about,
you
well,
ever
don't
shot
know
an
guns.
AR-15?
No, I've shot
Here's something
M16.
Okay, but it's the same weapon.
Yeah,
really,
essentially,
okay?
yeah.
And here's something that if you haven't handled the weapon, that you need to know in order to understand other people's arguments. Shooting an AR-15 is fun as fuck. It truly is. It is one of those experiences like altering your consciousness or having sex. It is a catharsis. It is a feeling of power. It is an awesome feeling. And I think that people on the left who haven't held a gun and haven't known that truth really need to know that, because what's going on here is there are all these people who are being unreasonable about giving up this small personal joy that they have, and that's all it is. It's like riding a motorcycle. It's an experience. It's an experience that either makes you feel powerful or a cathar. It's fucking awesome. It is great to do, and these people just don't want to give up that joy in their life. I don't know how you live with yourself, though, that you wouldn't give up a small pleasure to save other humans. That's where the chasm is for me.
And of course, they can't admit that's what it is.
Right.
They have to say it's about rights and about safety,
And
because you
that's
can't
just
just say it's
horseshit.
so much fun.
Yeah.
So
I respect that so much more. If anyone's like, "Oh, it's fucking great,"
It will.
I'd be like, "Cool, that's great, man."
Once again, I seem to be tasked with the truth of the matters. I do this everywhere I go, where I'm like, "Why is nobody just saying the truth?" It's fun as fuck. If you have never held one, I recommend that you do. It will help you understand
Just
the other
not
side.
in a school.
Well, so much
Oh,
of this,
no.
Certainly not. No, I would
That's
never.
much better.
so much of this is fetishism.
I don't want you to fuck or shoot the children. That is my own personal. I'm a
If you
good one.
take anything
I'm one of the
away
good ones.
today,
How about
just
this?
don't fuck or shoot
Well,
children.
how about
Yes.
this? How about this?
Oh wait, hold on. Our
teachers-
thought is about to be.
How about this? The teachers are allowed to fuck any kid that shoots someone.
Are they
All right.
fucking them while they're shooting? This sounds like very difficult.
I don't think
No,
it'll
you have to
start
take
there,
the gun
but
away.
it will get fetishized as time goes on. You know, I've done a lot of podcasts in my day. This is another one.
Nice. Yeah.
I say themed guns for all the teachers.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So,
see.
the history teacher gets a musket.
Nice.
Librarian gets a silencer.
very nice.
Keep things down.
Yes. Okay.
Theater department, just a prop gun. No,
Oh,
no,
really?
there's
Yes,
no,
that's-
no live ammunition.
That's
You
going
gotta,
to
You got to work with it.
Be wise in hindsight. I like
Science teacher gets anything he can build himself.
Right. Yeah, it's just like he's got to MacGyver the whole thing.
Metal
it. This
shop.
is what's
just gets
called
a
the
cannon.
zip gun.
That's it's look, it's
It's madness. Do you know, every day I look at the newspaper on a New York City subway, it reminds me of like Superman when they'd have that gag paper. Dog bites, man bites dog, you know, that's what the newspaper has become. It is like God is in an absurdist phase.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's been the same joke that every comic kind of stumbled upon. It's like
Which is-
we're living in the 9th season of a bad show that ran out of ideas. Because everything that's happened in the
How
last
have
2
I not
years-
heard this horseshit?
You've heard that, yeah.
Heard it.
But like it's this weird thing. Like I've said that like before it became like a popular one. My version of it was every Trump speech is like watching the after credits scene in a sequel to Butterfly Effect, and that's how you find out that they fucked up really bad,
Right.
and that's that they ruined everything trying to make the world better, and now Trump is president and just talking about how much I'd walk in there and I'd punch that guy in the face.
I can eat bullets.
Yeah. And, it's that premise that, like, because if you wrote this, everyone would have told you you're an idiot and
Correct.
you're a bad writer.
Absolutely.
This
Too
would never happen.
far-fetched.
Yeah.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Who is this jackass you've put me in contact with?
We're living in a South Park episode.
We really, truly are. It's fucking bizarre. I used to be the crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has surpassed me. I used to be the crazy person.
Well, let me-
I am fucking pretty reasonable
Let me
in
ask you
comparison
this.
these days.
We're people in comedy. Has anyone that you know who ended up becoming a staunch Trump supporter surprised you? Has
Yes.
it been anyone that you did not see? Because with me,
Yes.
every single Trump supporter was someone I saw it coming.
I
They were already
have a
someone I
black
was
friend that surprised the shit out of me. That voted for Trump and continues to support him.
Surprises me you have a black friend.
Oh, that old gag. I have a black friend who supported Trump, and that surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
I don't
disappointing.
understand how black people don't find it personally offensive.
I know gay Trump supporters, but that's because they're the kind of people who are like, I'm more white than gay. Those kind of gay guys, where just like I don't care how much I was persecuted.
You really need to have a camera on Maryssa during the show.
Oh, there is. There is.
Oh, okay. Because the looks of horror you have on a regular basis are part of the show that I think really needs to be pointed out. You say things that you're just totally fearless, and I recommend you continue this. But while you're saying them, I feel myself compelled to look over at Maryssa, and each time I can read Marissa's feelings. Like if we were talking about poker earlier, she would be an easy person to play against with him at the
I
table.
never play poker. Like literally every thought in my head is always on my face. I can't play poker.
That is, though, the quality of a good person.
The fact that I can't
It's
disguise my
learned
face.
behavior to disguise your feelings and emotions.
Am I horrifying you, Marissa?
You're horrifying everybody, yes, but it's great for the show. Carry on.
Welcome to Hot Take with Dave and Marissa.
Yeah.
I will find a way.
You can't change the station. He's on medication.
I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was
Oh,
fun.
you had gay.
Yeah, more white than gay.
Yeah.
More white
Yeah,
than gay.
we all know those guys.
Wow, that was seamless.
people
Nicely
who-
done.
It's the gay guys you
Eh.
know who seem to have really
I
strong opinions about
really-
feminism, and it's like, when do you even run into this?
I like to get together with my friends and qualify them like that. Be like, look, I want you to understand, I perceive you as more of your color than your sexual orientation. I want you to understand how I pigeonhole you. You are more white than gay.
Now, the black guy you know who loves Trump, did he hate Obama?
Yes. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Because that's the biggest
Very-
correlation.
Yeah.
The best
Very, very
predictor
odd,
of liking
yes.
Trump is hating Obama. It was-
Correct. But there's also, he's got the added, he's a veteran as well, which once you've seen your friends killed next to you, that can really change the way you view things.
What branch?
I think Army,
Okay.
and I know that man saw a great deal of combat, which
I only asked because I recently found out that black men in the Marines are called splibs. I think that's the word. I was looking up. I did a game on another
Carry
radio
on,
show
Yeah,
splibs.
where it
splibs.
was
Sounds
yeah,
ethnic
with-
slur.
Let's
I did a
keep
game
going.
called Ethnic Slur or Star Wars Species, and and I think it was splib or squidge. I think it was splib, but the idea was that it was listed as a non-offensive term for a black man in the Marines. And I remember thinking, who's the one who's
Not
deciding
offended.
it's not offensive?
what
did
is
they-
the acronym? They're
I don't
always
know.
acronyms.
I do not know, actually.
That's what they are with those fucking military.
It's actually a really
fucks.
good game because there's just so many Star Wars species that it's really hard. For example, gank. There's ganks, and I know that must be a slur for some people in our world too.
No,
Yeah.
no.
But ganks,
Gank was slang for stealing.
well, yeah,
You could
yeah.
gank shit.
In Star Wars, it's a murderous race of cyborg people.
Oh, look at that.
I've got splib, a black person who opposes discrimination but will not challenge the status quo.
What? Is that what it says it is?
That's something. Yeah.
Maybe I said it wrong because I had the list. It's definitely.
I mean, you could turn anything into
no,
a
I'm
slur.
probably wrong, but it might be the same one. I thought that was
Right,
it,
you
yeah.
gooby.
Whoa, hey. It's gotten mad offensive up in here. In keeping with Marissa's read, I should sue everybody. I'm going to sue everybody in here.
Just sue the shit out
I'm
of
going to
everyone.
sue everyone. You'll be hearing from my attorney. He's also Donald Trump's physician. You may recognize him.
I like how Trump also like. Does he when he hires a lawyer? Does he make sure they have some kind of horrible secret? Because it's like
Yes.
it seems like he doesn't want a lawyer unless it's the kind of guy who's just like, unless it's the kind of guy who like threatens to fight a bartender when they cut him off. Like
I think like he
likes classless people.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
he loves classless people, but
true.
I think like any lawyer that's going to take him on is going to be like basically bottom of the barrel because he's already notorious for not paying his bills, and like lawyers do nothing but bill you, so they kind of have to like kind of just like take a shot in the dark that like hopefully he might pay me, but like I can just say I'm Donald Trump's lawyer
Correct.
and maybe that will get me some clients. Like I think that they're just basically a firm holding
It's
on
pro
by-
bono work
Yeah.
in order to attract
A name.
Business.
people with, and
Yeah.
I think that works, and I think that you're right. I think that the cachet there is I was the president's attorney, and you do that work, you don't even think about getting paid. In fact, we have what was that lawyer who said he paid 130 G's out of his own pocket?
Cohen, right? Yeah.
What fucking lawyer on the planet is like, you know what? I got your fine. It could be $400. You hire somebody to go to traffic court with you. You're 130 G's. He just took it out of his pocket.
Yeah.
Again, we get back to the idea that
I'm
these
sure Mueller
guys
did
are
not
so
believe.
big. You think?
I do not believe he really gave. I'm 100% sure that money eventually came from Trump, and that Cohen
Well,
is just
I
being
think
a good
that
lawyer.
it may actually be a non-linear thing, like you're saying, $130,000 investment to a man who can pardon you.
Right.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
but pardon
Risk
you for the
versus
crimes you
reward.
committed for
For
him.
him.
Yes, but then again,
That's the kind of
you
dick
think
Trump
he's-
is. He's like, don't worry, I'm going to give you the biggest favor you ever had. I'm going to make sure you don't go to jail for the things I made you do.
Yes.
I'm that great a person.
but it's also implied that, you know, we're part of this criminal conspiracy together. If I have a problem, you have a problem. We're in this together. You ever, like, if you're doing some shit wrong with people, they act like you have been family for 50, for 100 years, and nothing is going to rip that bond apart. And then people get caught doing shit, and they just snitch.
Right.
That's the reality of
And
things.
that's-
People want to talk this gangster shit, but, you know, sooner or later, you end up someplace with the consequences, and you try to make the best deal for you.
And when people,
See all of Trump's cabinet thus far.
well, that's the thing with Trump is like people talk about him getting away with all this, and I'm like, which of these people do you think are going to go to jail for him?
Right.
You think Jared would go to jail for him?
Yes, I do. I do. But
don't
I
think
don't think
Jared's
that Jared's
father
really
is-
will be going to jail for him. He'll be going to jail for his wife. You know, you can't fucking go home. What are you going to do?
Okay, what about Manafort or
Manafort is in house arrest. Manafort
Yeah.
is
I don't
a
have
lot
my
of
own
guys.
thoughts, but he gets very excited. No, I'm being a penis. I didn't actually have my own thoughts on that one. Go ahead.
No, I mean, Manafort's already pled guilty, and Manafort's either going to turn over a lot of evidence or he's going to pay the price. And this is playing out exactly like a mafia trial.
It truly is, yes. They're just flipping people
And-
up the line.
Yeah, and Trump never thought twice about the idea of maybe I shouldn't surround myself with people who would eat their mother to survive.
Well,
funny
this whole
thing-
sorry,
No, go on.
this whole thing is rather unlikely, though. He didn't believe he'd be here. Nobody thought he'd be here.
No.
This whole thing playing out in actuality is shocking to the man who is now the leader of the free world.
And he didn't cover his ass like a person who thought he would get there either.
Right.
No, and
Because he
then-
thought he was just going to start a TV network after the whole election. He
Right.
thought he was going to lose, and then he was going to like spin off with his own TV network, and it was going to be
Like
the
Trump
new
TV.
Fox. Yeah, it was going to be
Right.
like Trump TV. It was going to be kind of like a new, like alt-right kind
Shit
of
fountain.
Fox. Yeah.
He just wanted to take advantage of the general hatred and chaos in the country
Correct.
and make money off it. He
Right.
just saw it as
That's
an
right.
opportunity.
And then now, he won, which is going to kind of fuck up his plan.
a bad 80s film. See what happens.
Yeah.
When a famous millionaire down on his luck tricks a whole country into voting for him.
Yeah.
But Donald.
You would
But that's
never
like the
sell
most-
the script.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you'd be laughed the fuck out of an office.
There's that Robin Williams movie
as a
There's-
comedian who runs for office.
Yeah.
And there's a Chris Rock movie.
Oh,
And now it's
Right.
actually happening in Italy. There's a comedian,
It happened.
Grillo.
Correct.
Yeah.
But he has turned over the movement, the 5-star movement, to other people. He is not at the forefront of it. But that movement has gotten very problematic as well. That is, they're taking on fascist overtones.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you have general, broad populism.
Well-
You say, what do people like? Oh, they like hating immigrants. Okay.
Right. Well, also, let's look at this. You made the statement earlier, and I agree with it. We are people in comedy. You want one of our fucking friends running this country? I mean, let's think about the people in comedy. The average person you go on a road gig with, or you see at the comedy club here in Manhattan. 99% of them, I would leave a fucking cat with these people.
Our best.
I mean, and
The best one we had was Al Franken. He was the cleanest one we had.
that's true. Yeah,
He was
You-
our
you have a
Harvey
point.
Dent, and he got taken down.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you think about people that you're not even comfortable letting you drive to Poughkeepsie.
Right.
Right.
And
I'll meet you there. There is a train. Yeah, and I'm not gonna bother backpedaling. Like, obviously, there are wonderful people doing comedy, but I don't want them fucking being president.
yeah, I want you to be president maybe if, like, that's what you wanted to do all your life. And you want to, like, dedicate yourself to something. No one's first job should be in the goddamn White House. That's why people... You have to,
Here's part of the thought of America. The best and the brightest compete in a free market, and the cream rises to the top. That was always the ideal, right? Truth, justice, and the American way. Superman. They can't even say that shit anymore with a straight face. They don't say truth, justice, and the American way. The American way is through the rectum for the rest of the free world.
What if you had a middle of the road, career politician Republican, and then
Made
someone
him
like Oprah
Okay.
against him?
Yes.
Would you blindly vote for your side?
Yes, I would
Yeah.
actually. It is though they have made things so cartoonishly clear. Like on this side, we want to keep all our money and allow people to sell guns to murderers.
Yeah.
And on this side, we're against them taking food stamps and sending people food they won't eat.
I agree with you.
So black and white and insane. But
Yeah.
it's also, I think, I'll make a quick point and then it needs to be said that this is happening around the world. If you look at Brexit, if you look where the Italian
Five-star
election is
party,
going,
yeah.
Sergio
It's scary.
Berlusconi is the one that they're saying is the kingmaker in this.
Right.
Whatever he supports.
terrifying that Berlusconi has this kind of power in Italy in 2018.
And Berlusconi is the forerunner to Trump. Berlusconi is a man who
Exactly
made
like him.
his fortune
He's another
and
buddy
his
of
fame
Putin.
through reality television and then parlayed that into being in charge of a country.
Right.
yeah, and here's what I'll say about the Oprah question.
If I may,
sorry,
quickly,
please.
there is a wonderful documentary called Videocracy about the subject that I would recommend people see. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is I would vote against Oprah, anyone in a primary, in a Democratic primary.
She gave
I
you
would
a car.
absolutely vote against her with anyone. I don't want politicians to just be celebrities. But if it was against a moderate Republican, it would be a decision I made directly about the actual issues. If it was Romney versus Oprah, I would actually think about that. I would really look at it, but I would still vote for the issues I care about. Here's the thing, though. Oprah is, of course, not the liberal version of Trump.
No.
No.
That would
that's
be like
not
if the
point of my
fat
question.
Jewish was running for president. If the fat Jew was running
Right.
against Romney, then I think I might have to vote against my issues
Right.
just to have someone I think deserves to have their finger on the button.
I'm definitely just trying to boil down the idea of experience in politics alone.
If Kanye
Yeah.
West actually got the Democratic nomination, I would vote for Jeb Bush against him, if that answers
Right.
the question.
Yeah, Kanye.
Yes, but-
Kanye's a little too far.
Kanye's mentally ill.
He is. He's not okay.
I mean, because I kind of thought that if it went to, like, let's say Bernie and Kasich, I was kind of contemplating Kasich, to be honest, because like I just kind of felt like Bernie was just like the opposite side of the Trump coin, and so like it didn't boil down that way, but I did definitely have that like coming to Jesus moment with myself, like what happens if this ends up being who our candidates are.
Well, that's interesting. I definitely never put Bernie in that category of so far, off the rails that he is the antithesis of Trump, or he's the equal side on that.
He's certainly a career government person, though. He's someone who knows what he's doing. Yeah.
And but I think what Trump has proven to me is that you can just be, just have ideologies, and that's it. You could just be an ideologue, and the country will still run. The country just moves. It's a pretty sophisticated government that doesn't need this leader with a vision. He has zero vision for the country. He has no plans. He is being manipulated by whoever speaks to him last, which is frightening. But it leans me in the direction of voting for an Oprah. Not a Kanye, probably.
Yeah,
no. But someone who I can at least agree with ideologically, so that when people come into their office and say, we should do this, this, and that, you go, well, I don't really believe in that.
But don't you think that his vision is just kind of like isolationism? And,
yes.
I think that he does have a vision, and I think he is moving us to his vision, which, granted, I don't know who the hand up his ass is, but somebody is guiding him to have this very, anti-immigration.
It's everything that I believed when I was 9.
Well,
his vision is an aggressive child. And that's what Putin is. It's
a dog whistle. We're talking about this while they rob the hen house.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about what his vision is while people get government contracts, while he makes deals, while he changes tariffs. And really, that's the goal here. The goal is, at the end of the day, the Trump family walks away with as much as they can and with as little liability as possible.
Well, I have hope.
And if I may, Oprah is a very, very different candidate than just about anybody else that the left could bring in that she spoke to our country 1 hour a day for 20 years.
Right.
And during that time, she handled herself with not only ethically, but thoughtfully, and in a way that, and this is a trick of television or radio, in a way that I feel a kinship towards Oprah. Like, I know Oprah. Like, I can trust Oprah. Like, Oprah is a person I have a read on as a human being. That's not the truth. I know that intellectually, but I feel as though Oprah is my homegirl, that I could leave in my house and I get a pretty good idea what she's going to do. So because of that, and it's a much more extended trick. That's the same trick that Trump played on America. You know me from The Apprentice, and I make these great meetings, and it's a trick. With Oprah, it is also a trick of the mind. However, I feel like it's a much more rational conclusion that this is the person she purports herself to be.
Yeah, I don't think she's as malignant. She's definitely not as malignant as Trump. And if it was Trump versus Oprah, I would have to go Oprah. But at the same time, I still find Oprah to be somewhat problematic because, like, when her show started in, like, the 80s, like, she was basically kind of like
Fat.
she was like basically kind of like a Springer type, and she just had a parade of incest survivors and battered women, and she didn't give them any support until really some of her former guests started killing themselves, and then she kind of like brought in Dr. Phil to have that psychological support on the back end. And now people are finding out that Dr. Phil is like giving alcohol and drugs to his guests before they get on air.
What a wonderful host.
I didn't get offered anything before I came on this show.
To be clear,
I got a bottle of
we
water.
gave you
Wait a
cookies.
minute.
I would vote for I would vote for Steve Wilco if he was running against Trump. Steve was the
Bodyguard.
the Springer bodyguard. Yeah.
Steve. Yeah. Well, there is a certain segment of the population that are Trump voters that would be crossover Steve voters.
That's
be like,
true.
this guy's awesome. No, if some goes down, it take care of him.
Steve would have definitely gone into that school.
Steve would have gone
that's
into that
true.
school. Yeah. But then again, if Steve gets shot, is that a real loss to America? There are many more Steves to break up fights between skanks. Trust me on this one.
Yeah, we.
Oh, on that note, I feel like we should all sing America the Beautiful.
It is a good game just thinking of who would you still vote for Trump against?
Yeah.
Because I can't think of who it is. I know, like, I'm the one I go to is, names that come up of former politicians, Al Sharpton, in a second. In a second,
You
I
would
vote for Al
vote
Sharpton.
for Al Sharpton?
Against Trump?
Yeah.
Against Trump?
If he was my only choice against Trump,
Good
yes.
Yeah.
Lord. Are you
I'm
kidding
making-
me?
I'm
That's
making a
for
point.
me. I
I would
could
vote
flip
for-
a coin.
Okay.
I would not.
I would vote for Tawana Brawley if she was running against Trump. No one knows Tawana Brawley?
Yes, I know.
I do know who you're talking about, but seriously, if you were to find an equivalent for me of Trump, it would be
No, you're right.
what we have are two racial snake oil salesmen.
It'd be you would get a few extra good things out of
Racial
Sharpton.
hucksters, people
Yeah, no, he
who
is.
find the margin and then use it as a way to distance one another. I find Al Sharpton equally distasteful as I do Donald Trump.
I respect
now,
that. At least
if
we wouldn't
you
lose abortion.
if we really are talking about how to fix this country, you take Donald Trump and you take Al Sharpton and you put them in a cell together for 1 year and you make it pay-per-view. And all that money goes to taxes. You just have a 24-hour feed of them being stuck in a 5x8 room together.
But at least we know Sharpton is the puppet of the FBI. Like, Trump is the puppet of Putin. Like, Sharpton has been working with the FBI for, like, decades.
Well, Sharpton was a rat. You mean he was a snitch for like other people, but it's not
Correct.
like- I don't think he's been
During
doing
his
that for a
Sergio
while.
But, like-
Tacchini cowboy hat phase, where he was buying kilos of cocaine at Katz's, which I want to thank him. That alliterates nicely. Kilos of cocaine at Katz's, ladies and gentlemen.
I just think, like, my point is that for me, the difference between, I mean, other than the fact that I'm black, because Dave likes to point it out. But
It's radio. They don't know unless I say
Don't know.
it.
They got to be reminded.
We
Top of
have
the hour, every hour.
cameras.
It's 8:07. This is still black.
Yeah, I'm still black. We're still here. But like, I guess like my whole point is that like we know that he's not necessarily like in bed with a foreign government. Like is like for me that would be my big push that I would go Sharpton.
Yeah.
Although like I don't necessarily agree with.
I don't like him either.
You know.
I just think he'd still be a better president.
Yeah, I always think about the
Do you
duties
think
of
that
the president.
Sharpton would be a better president than Trump?
What do you think are the duties of the president? Like that matter the most? He is the public figure of our country. He represents us around the world, and Trump is the worst at those particular things. He's actually the worst that I could even imagine.
I think that Sharpton is, a dirtbag in the way you're saying, but I don't think he's mentally ill. I don't think he's dangerous. like
That's
Trump
fair
is.
point.
Right.
I think that's the difference.
Fair
I think
point.
Sharpton, if he became president, every day he'd be like, "Man, I really gotta do this right. I gotta
Yeah.
keep my head on my shoulders and really do it right and put on a good and look respectable." And I think he would try.
Jesus,
in a way
why
that
am I
Trump
always in
never
these
would.
situations?
I don't like him either. I'm just saying. Compared
Yeah,
to
I
Trump.
know, but I've just watched everybody be like, "Oh yeah, all right, I trust Reverend Al Sharpton." You're all fucking being played. Everyone.
Comparatively.
So somebody needs to say that. Here I am. Let's carry on.
Let me be fair. Also, I would also vote for Ben Affleck in a three-way
Yeah.
between those people.
I would vote
I'd
for a
go
three-way.
for Ben.
yeah.
I would probably vote for El Chapo before I'd vote for Trump.
Ooh,
Wow.
I'm gonna say
actually-
no.
Holy cow.
Well,
See, that's a good one. That's more of.
I'll tell you what, he'll solve the opioid crisis because there will be tons of pure cocaine. Nobody will be bothering.
You know what
with
though?
opioids
I would vote for
anymore.
El Chapo versus Trump, but not.
This
I
is-
would not.
I would not vote for El Chapo.
This
But
has
I would-
become
This is
like
nuts.
the sports talk radio of politics. You got 1945. You got Ike fist fighting Trump. Who do you got winning this one? This has gone completely off the rails. Ike would knock Trump out. That's for certain. I'm sorry.
I was gonna
like
say-
that
Joey's getting
voice.
upset.
I would vote for
Somebody
El
get him an
Chapo,
AR-15.
but I would vote for Trump if he was running against Escobar. So I'll give him
Pound for
Okay.
pound, Pablo Escobar is probably the best hybrid drug dealer. Actually, Pablo Escobar did want to be president
of
that's right, of Colombia.
right,
Yeah.
and that's I think.
How
he'd
scary
be,
is that?
I think he would be a bad president,
Do you?
Pablo Escobar. Personally,
He was a. What is he going to do that he wasn't doing as a drug dealer? He's knocking planes out of the sky as a drug dealer.
Yeah, Trump actually bested him in that regard. Trump did what Pablo could not do.
Which is?
Become president,
president
of the
Yeah.
country.
as a thug.
As
Yeah.
a thug, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
in a certain way, because he wasn't quite the man Pablo Escobar was. Pablo Escobar was all balls. Pablo Escobar was out in the street committing crimes, doing real shit, and people were afraid to come get him. He was the was the myth that Trump would like to be. Pablo Escobar is the guy who does walk in when somebody's shooting an AR-15. He's like,
Right, that's
you know,
true.
he's the myth that he would that Trump would like to be. And then again, you know, he spent his life moving packages of fucking drugs that killed a lot of people.
How has Trump helped the country most, in your opinion?
I don't believe he has helped the country in a single way
There's
at
not
all.
There's
I
not
think
a metric that you can go by that you're like, oh,
I'm sure there is one, but I'm just so
curious.
I view him so fucking negatively. Like
Yeah.
what you said about him being the absolute worst representation of us around the world. I feel like the president, right? His job is like that of a general manager. When some shit goes down, people who are beneath him really handle it, right?
Right.
But he comes out and he says, "Hey, everybody, I want to apologize for the shit that happened. I'm the one in charge. It's up to me."
He never apologizes.
Not only does he not apologize, he has. If you think of America as a stock, he has cost us value in the stock. He has irreparably harmed our brand, our way of life for years and generations to come. And it is absolutely fucking mind-numbing that I have to talk reasonable people around me to this point. We're like, no, you know, we're really respected around the world.
Oh, my
No,
God.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
the exact opposite. We are the laughing stock of the world.
They thought that Obama made us lose respect. Obama made the whole country be like, "Oh, you're catching up."
Yeah.
Right.
And
But
Yeah.
what I would say, like, I don't think that he's done any good for the country, but I think that for everyday people, is as divisive as he is, and he's put us all in separate. He's kind of broken us down the middle into two camps. But I feel like each camp has found camaraderie within their own camp, which I don't think we necessarily had during Obama, because, like, with Obama, like, we all were just like, oh, yeah, like, it's Obama, everything is cool. And, like, you know, the right was losing their shit because, like, oh, my God, a black man in the press, like, in the White House. But, like, I think the left was just kind of like, oh, like, everything's good. Like, you know, like, we're progressive. And, like, now I think that people that you didn't necessarily think you had so much in common with, you're just, like, finding, like, common ground. Like, all right, listen, when they start putting us in the camps, let's, like, all, like, get together.
we're all in a basement being like, you know, I think this hurricane is bringing us together.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Yeah.
They're like, let's look at the bright side of this, everybody.
It's like we're telling scary stories. There's one can of Spam left.
I'm eating his half cookie.
Okay. You can take the rest of them.
You know, I think Grandpa... You know, I think Grandpa...
Did I skeeve you out?
No, it was his cookie.
Half cookie
Yeah.
going in? Wow, you people are weird.
I want to make a point that Rob ate half of a cookie, put it
And then
back
put it right into the whole
sleeve,
container.
Put it back in the sleeve?
like
Yeah,
a
you
I would
did.
like
lunatic.
to point out that I do not mind at all. These are excellent.
So you were
cookies.
unconscious of that. I thought that was a power move.
I thought he
you
was just going
I'm
to take
so
the whole sleeve of
sorry.
You
cookies.
took half a cookie and put it back
my
on the
God,
top of the
how did I-
sleeve, and all of us stopped eating the cookies and thought, "Wow, Rob
is
an
just
alpha."
out here.
Pissed all over these
Rob is-
cookies.
He just like jizzed
Rob
on
is
my
the,
cookies.
is the top dog here, apparently.
And here's
sorry.
a wonderful metaphor for America. While you discuss it, I eat your cookies. I have been eating your cookies the entire time.
Because
you're
Rob's
Die,
been dog
milkshake.
whistling us
That's
while
correct.
Joey's eating the cookies.
You know, if you asked a Republican what Trump's contribution would, they would say, well, before he was president, commerce. And the thing is, you can't even give him credit for that because of his reputation for stiffing people. His reputation for causing the reverse of people losing money and not getting paid for the work they do.
What a fucking scumbag. Like, all these guys who voted for him that, like, guys that I grew up with in Brooklyn who talk this shit about, you know, he's a real man, he's doing this for us. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. The work that you do putting in tiles or putting down carpet, this is a guy who has the means to pay you, to honor your work, and he fucks every one of these people, not because they've done something wrong, not because he's unhappy with their work, but because overall, as a mathematical formula, it's better to fuck people. At the end of the day, you get more by fucking people. And I find that not only distasteful, I not only find it repugnant personally, I find it to be un-American. And that is the crux of my frustration with the people around me, that he is so obviously, blatantly un-American, the antithesis of the qualities that I was told were American. He is obviously and overwhelmingly on the side of wrong at all times. And I feel as though I'm having one of these dreams where the people around me can't see what I see. Mm-hmm. And I find it helpful to boil this all down to a kind of schoolyard scenario, which is, if we're all in a schoolyard together and we elect this guy, do you feel safer? No, I don't. He's such a fucking common con man that the average New Yorker would hear him talking for 30 seconds on a subway and turn up their iPhone.
Right. The cowardice behind people who pretend that they're okay with this. I mean, you say to these people, well, he stole from his charity. There are two $20,000 paintings that he paid for with money that people thought they were giving to a charity. You know what their answer is to that? Tell that to anyone and then ask them, respond to that without using the words Hillary Clinton. They will throw a fucking they will lose their minds. Their heads will explode and they'll say, well, she stole from her charity. Are you sure of that? Or are you comparing one person who was proven in court to be doing something with another thing that you heard Rush Limbaugh make up off the top of his head from process of elimination?
Those who choose not to see are more blind than those who cannot. And that is what's going on here in America. There is a big okey doke. People are willing to just fucking sell out their country in order to have some more money or a rifle in their house. And it breaks my heart. This is a sad thing to say and mean. I'm glad my father isn't alive to see this because he fought for this country. And the people who's, in a position of power in our government have all sold this out, obviously and openly. And it's just kind of fucking shocking to me that am I the canary in the coal mine? I was kicked out of high school.
Yeah.
I was then kicked out of the college afterwards. I went into the topless bar business, and after that, I ran high-end pool halls.
You should be a Trump supporter.
Right. On paper, I'm a fucking idiot. But if I'm the canary in the coal mine, right, am I... No, it's not that I'm so smart I figured it out. It's that smart people are complicit and are allowing it to go on.
Right. What's your worst case Trump scenario?
Worst case?
Yeah, that's that you legitimately fear at night when you go to bed.
I know that
they
had floated the idea of not holding elections if there were a terrorist attack. Which, if you look at the history of any government, you can find some sort of false flag operation. And I don't go in for that overall. I don't spend a lot of time on conspiracy theories.
No,
I think
but that's a great one.
Nobody has to hide a conspiracy anymore. They can just do it openly, and people are too bought off with fucking cell phones and trying to get home to microwave food that they're okay with you fucking them.
My answer to that is...
You don't have to hide it. Sorry.
And I'm sure...
Now I'm ready to eat the rich motherfucker.
Get me my AR-15. I'm going to go shoot up a private school.
I didn't want to do it. I promise you I had no choice. The only option was nuclear war.
We got to figure out what the hell is going on.
That he's going to start a nuclear war because of Robert Mueller.
Yes.
That he is going to do something so desperate and so dangerous when he no longer sees he has anything left to lose.
Right.
And I don't see anything about him that says he wouldn't do it. He's inching towards a nuclear war. He's constantly dropping hints. He at the State of the Union, he thought he was going to get an applause break when he said, "There may be a day when we don't need nuclear weapons, but today is not that day." And he stood there waiting for the applause that did not come. And we saw this is how much he is aligning his emotional sense of well-being with being a man who has nuclear weapons.
About 2.5 months ago, I nearly died from a heart attack, and I pray that it does happen to this guy.
He's a walking widowmaker.
I have spent time thinking, wouldn't it be great to just get up tomorrow and be like, President dead, has heart attack from all the shitty things he's done to people?
Seriously, when
What
I was
newspaper
watching,
ran
I would
with
like
that-
a doctor to say,
The HuffPost would say that.
It turns out that the plaque in his lower anterior descending was due to all the shitty scumbaggery he was involved in.
When I was watching the State of the Union, every time I watched Obama's State of the Union, I would watch and be afraid because I'm I don't want to look, because if I look, oh my God, what if something happens to Obama? And watching this one, I'm like, oh my God, what if I watch this and nothing happens to him during the speech?
I don't want him to die.
No.
I want him to live long enough to see Barron change his name.
Wow.
That's my true
You are a
hope.
sadist.
That is my true hope, that he lives long enough to see his son change his name to Morty Smith.
And once again, do I have to be the one? What's wrong with that kid? Something is going on with that child. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
We don't know
He's
that.
the
I
most
don't pay enough attention.
He's the most likable child because his eyes are vacant. What
I'm
the hell
assuming
kind of family?
Some
He probably
sort
rec-
of spectrum.
My assumption is simply that he knows what a douchebag his dad is, and every time the camera's on him, he's like, I can't believe I have to be
That's
seen
the
as.
How old is Baron?
That's the first bit of
11 or
optimism
12,
we've
something
had
like
out of
that.
We don't know anything about
too
this
young
kid.
for me
I
to
don't,
be, yeah.
you know. It's not like Ivanka,
Oh,
who is,
I know enough.
sold her fucking soul.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And that tree's been putting it in this country's ass.
Look, Trump's a bad person, and look, Tiffany might be decent for all we know. I don't know. We have the fact that we
Tiffany.
don't see her very. Tiffany Trump.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, exactly. Good for her.
Yeah,
Well, because
yeah.
she's Marla's
She's
kid.
like that.
Yeah.
She's like that Osborne daughter. There was one daughter
Yeah, who wouldn't be on Amy? Who
Right.
wouldn't be on camera?
who I understand is very attractive.
Yeah, she's cute. She didn't want. Good for her. It was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want to be on the show.
God
Just
bless
don't
her.
let me on camera. I'm still gonna hang out at
Yes.
my house. But yeah, I mean, we know Eric and Don are absolute dog shit human beings. But
Oh
Ivanka
my
is
goodness!
worse
The strong language.
Because Ivanka is, she's trying to be like, I'm a good person, and I'm a smart professional.
No.
and and how dare you ask
don't
me if my
believe-
daddy hurt those women? How could you
Yeah.
dare ask me that? Well, you're also a
White
high
House
level.
advisor.
How are you also?
The horror.
That's why you don't hire your daughter to be in these jobs, because then the person whose job it would be to talk about this gets to say, well, I don't have to talk about that because I'm his daughter.
Right. Well, I don't believe you. I think that, once again, you're giving people the benefit of the doubt in that you think they're saying things that aren't completely disingenuous just to further their agenda. You believe that there might actually be a kernel of goodness in them that I refuse to see or don't see. I don't know which it is. I'm willing to accept that I'm just too closed-minded. A friend of mine did say to me, if Trump got up tomorrow and decided to be a good person, the left would just figure out, this it would report it as this is some sort of bullshit that's going on we can't trust. And I agree with that, but
Nicholas Cruz tomorrow was a good person. Would that make everything okay?
all right. That's a false equivalent.
Okay.
What we're dealing with here, if Trump got up tomorrow and had some sort of, let's say he does have the heart attack, right?
Yeah.
And it's that moment where he says, I've gotten it all wrong. 70 years, I'm going to be the best president, and I'm going to consider everybody. I would be like, what the fuck? I do not trust this. Whatever the fuck is going on, it's not, I could not trust him. He is just harmed.
You just figure it's a new con.
Absolutely right, but it's
Yeah.
a conditioned response to the fact that the man's been a con man his whole life.
Right.
So there is an argument, too, if he has done something good, I wouldn't know because my mind ain't open to it.
Well, he's set a precedence. Yeah.
I still believe there's. 'Cause you're going for straight evil. I'm still play the dumb card. I think that he this operation is just over his head, and that the people around him are much smarter, move much faster, and unfortunately, so is Russia. Like Putin is far smarter and far more adept at manipulating our country than Trump is able to, and even right down to DACA. I mean, he was ambivalent about that for some time, and that's
Right.
what I referred to earlier when the last person to speak to him is what his opinion is. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything about policy. He doesn't know anything about running a country, which is fine. I get why he doesn't. But then he has no backbone. That's my point of the vision, and he's being manipulated by. It's like the George W. Bush. The hell is his vice president?
Oh, Cheney.
Cheney. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was like the Bush Cheney thing, but
Darth
just far,
Vader.
just so much worse. Like if Cheney were vice. Oh my God, you know what I mean? He's
like
being
if-
manipulated by.
It's
by
like, yeah, it's exactly
everyone he
like
surrounds
that
himself with.
if Bush had never stopped doing cocaine.
If Bush never stopped
If
doing
Bush had been doing cocaine from his
college Bush.
20s up until the day he was elected, that would be a little bit closer to what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Right.
Once
So
again, we're
I'm-
back to
you're-
Little Bump.
I'm team stupid. You're
Little
team
pump.
evil. Yeah.
Well, I think that those two truths can exist simultaneously.
actually,
I think
I
there are
agree with you.
times where what he's doing is guile, and then other times where he's the sucker.
Well, the Game of Thrones line. We've had idiot kings
right.
and we've had evil kings, but we've never had an idiot evil king, an evil idiot king. Whereas with Bush, we were like, look, the guy's not the brightest guy, but I believe he wants to do right. He's just in the wrong people's pockets. Nixon was an evil man who was very smart.
Right.
We've never had an evil idiot.
Yeah.
Maybe Warren G. Harding, but not on this level.
Don't get me started
So-
on Harding.
I know.
Now we've ripped open the
before
rage canister.
I know. Before we start going on a Harding tear, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But before we
Whoa,
go, I
that's
know
not right. You should have opened with Harding.
we should have opened with Harding. We should have. But before we go, like, where can everyone see you next? Tell everybody about where they can follow you on social media. I'm
Check out my website at www.craigslist.misconnections. Yeah, I don't care.
I have no idea when this will be airing, so I don't have anything to plug.
That's true, yeah. So I'll just say this was Rob Ryan, and you can catch me at Rob Ryan Rocks. That's everything. My Twitter, my Instagram, everything.
There you are, yeah.
Good job.
At Joey Gay, and I'll be at Important Comedy Show in the future at Best Comedy Club.
Oh, who books that?
You're already
important.
You're already
person.
on the show.
I'm just gonna quote Christian Finnegan from my roast battle and say you can see me doing comedy all over the city under my stage name and others. That was a great joke you had. Dave Cyrus, Sirus.
Okay, I'm Maryssa Smith. You can follow me on Twitter at Maryssa Smith and like Blamestorming on our Facebook fan page, Blamestorming. Have a great week, you guys, and we will talk to you soon. Keep eating those cookies.
Hooray!